Welcome, friends. It's almost midnight, and you've found your way to the PikeCast. We've covered so many of the books of the most formative writer of our young adult days, Christopher Pike. But there's a new show in town. From the creator of The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass comes the Netflix adaptation of The Midnight Club. For 10 weeks, we'll tackle one episode per podcast in a freewheeling and unbiased chat. So turn down the lights, pop some popcorn, and pull a blanket over you. And ready yourself for the PikeCast, the Midnight Club. Greetings, fellow Pikers, and welcome to the PikeCast, the Midnight Club. I'm Cooper Beckett, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my lovely co-hosts.
Hello, I'm Cassie.
Hi, I'm Becca.
We've switched formats to cover Mike Flanagan's 10-episode adaptation of The Midnight Club on Netflix. This week, we're delving into episode 3, The Wicked Heart. We're going to be going through the entire episode, but not beyond. So spoiler warning up through episode 3. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. Now let's dive right into episode 3, which gives us a light blue on dark blue logo. I am really digging the new logo every episode. No one else is digging it as much as me, clearly.
No, it's a vibe.
You know,
No, it's good.
I don't say I like things very often, clearly, in this
We're like in
series. Yeah.
shock over here.
We're just like, oh shit. We're just looking at each other like, did you hear that?
He liked it.
Cooper has a compliment?
Yes, I'm pretty complimentary usually about Christopher Pike. We'll know when we start getting the, if you don't like it, why are you watching it?
Yeah.
Comments. That'll come, I'm sure. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll like it more. So, maybe it won't come. I don't know. But we're doing The Wicked Heart today, and The Wicked Heart is the first episode named after another book by Pike. And to those who didn't remember, because I had to look, The Wicked Heart was about Nazis and the supernatural urge to kill that went through Nazis.
Oh. Yes. I
remember
completely
that?
forgot the Nazi aspect, but
The
now
Nazis.
it just came back.
Right.
How they went back to the wife and the oh my god, that
Right.
book. I love that book, dude. That is, I'm gonna have to reread that because that is so good. I see why they didn't go in that direction.
Definitely, that was definitely a positive book for us. It was a 4.63.
Yes.
Yeah. Becca, you gave it 5. Look at you.
What did I give it?
Shit.
The rest of us gave it 4.5.
Yep, that seems right.
Becca gave it 5. Yeah.
Well,
I
what
believe,
happened?
and that was the one where we had the great discussion about whether or not it's okay to use the Nazis this way. Because
it's all coming back to me.
yeah, it was. I mean, it's a very interesting thing, and so this, right off the bat, at least in this episode, the show is choosing not to use the Nazis, which is probably better.
Yeah, it's fair.
But that's where we're at here.
I think this is the part 2, or this episode maybe, is why I have the Kevin so solidified in my head as like an Evan Peters Tate sort of actor.
because he's the first person to play a bad guy, essentially.
Yeah, and you know how in American Horror Story Tate is in like the school and he is like, doing bad shit, and I was just like, oh shit, like it gives me definitely like those kind of vibes in this one.
Well, let's dive right into the plot here. We pick up right where we left off with Ilonka and Kevin in the hallway, and Ilonka's talking about how the hallway was different. I'm nitpicking, but Kevin says, so like the furniture was different, and Ilonka says everything was different, like the furniture. So, I mean, yeah. But Kevin says it's crazy, like meds make us crazy, right? And then Ilonka is all upset at being suggested that she's crazy and says, your Halidol make you see terrifying old ladies too?
I mean, she got a point.
Well, no, I mean, it is reasonable to say that medication here will likely make you hallucinate at some point.
But she's been seeing these things since before she got diagnosed.
That's true. That's true. Wait, before she got diagnosed?
When she was looking in the mirror in her house before she was officially diagnosed, like before she was in like the hospital and stuff, when she was just sick after the party that night. Yeah, she saw them in the mirror, the guy, and then she saw the lady behind her. And
she saw Kevin on the cliff, right?
Yeah, she started having visions. Right after that is when she got diagnosed. Then she got her, in the hospital and more visions. Okay. So like that, because that was something too that I noticed, because I was thinking like, is this all in their minds because they're sick, or because, which it could be maybe because they're sick, I don't know, but because of the medication. But then I remembered like, no, she was not on medication definitively when she first started having these visions.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, so Ilonka has reason to believe that she's not crazy. Correct. Or maybe is. But Kevin is right to be skeptical.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
So Ilonka storms off grumpily and is looking at her collection of stuff from Julia Jane's case file and finds art therapy with that hourglass symbol carved into it, drawn on a tree. And then the numbers 292.13. Now, this is a moment where my oldness wins.
No, me too. Okay. It's not even me being old. It's just me having
understanding of libraries?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Especially because they mention in the other episode, or like
the Dewey Decimal System.
Yes. And that's one thing in the show that has frustrated me too.
It irritated me to no end that nobody in this entire episode understands, even when they're in the library.
Yes, when they're talking in the library.
0.13 is a Dewey Decimal number, and I looked, and 200 is religion, and 292.13 is specifically Greek mythology.
I will say you are spoiling a little bit, I think, yourself.
Well, that's not spoiling. That's doing my own research.
No, fair.
Based on something that I'm pissed off the cast of the show doesn't understand.
No, I agree with you, but I do think they wouldn't, maybe there's something to be said for like, no, I can't even excuse it either, because I feel like you're like latitude and longitude. Why would you go to that first in a library? Right. Like that? No, that was one thing I will say. That was my small bit of criticism, because that frustrated me a lot too. Because I've been in libraries my whole life, and that's not right. You should just know that.
Her stepfather might know, because he's older too. Like Dewey Decimal was what we relied on before the computer could tell us where everything was. And as a child of the library, I knew which sections the things I liked were in. Mm-hmm. So I knew I could go to, I think it was 190 actually, and see the film section. But I get it. Modern kids don't know that. I get it. But it was very frustrating. It's like, come on, figure this shit out.
I didn't think about that.
You're smart kids.
That could be like, because I keep saying when you have criticism of stuff, I'm like, but think about it if you're watching it as a teenager from today, and this is your first experience with this. So considering that, what I myself said, fair then that maybe it would take them longer to figure that out. But for me, as somebody who knows, and them as people who are in that time frame, they should know. They should have.
If this was taking place in 2022, I would understand them having no idea what those numbers are.
Yeah.
But having their little club in a library with the Dewey Decimal System, they should fucking know that.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's not something that all a teen viewer might pick up on, though.
I know.
Like, what is that number? I don't know.
And the thing about having a podcast about a TV show is if you're not being nitpicky, you're just masturbating. Because what's the point otherwise? Why talk an hour about a show that's an hour long unless you have...
I mean, I do it
so I can just say how much I love it the entire time, on repeat.
Well, what? I mean, that's why you have it, Cassie. I am here to nitpick. And we're just talking over poor Becca.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
How are you doing back there, Becca?
I was just going to say that I'm here because I hang out with my friends.
Well, yeah. That's also true. That's also very important.
With Cooper and Cassie.
Yeah.
Buddy time.
Yeah.
So dude, then Cooper's just like, I'm gonna argue everything. I'm like, I'm loving everything, and Becca's just like, friendship.
We do things together.
It is definitely we're all coming together for very different reasons, but we're enjoying each other's company.
It's true.
Yes. So we then cut to people in robes with candles using the elevator, and Ilonka's watching them, but one is behind her watching her. And this is we talked a little bit about at the end of the last episode, the weird way they do jump scares on this show. And Ilonka turns around and sees the person in the hood. Then we see Ilonka's face. Then we see the person in the hood again, and this time there's a musical sting. So it's like it gave us a chance to register what she's looking at and then tried to scare us with it. So yeah, Ilonka wakes up screaming because it's a dream, of course. But Anya doesn't care, and it's family day. And Anya says it's like a petting zoo, but all the animals are dying. A reasonable critique of family day. We get little vignettes with our cast. Natsuki with her mother wants photos of her father in the military, and her mother doesn't understand why she would want specific photos. We don't learn why, but I'm sure we will. Amesh's parents have been deported, and he's being visited by his aunt and uncle. Do you two remember, wasn't this a storyline in one of Pike's books?
I do not remember.
I don't remember.
My brain.
I feel like it was in Final Friends. I feel like
you know how I feel about those books.
I do. Yeah. I feel like one of the characters' parents were deported because of the events of the book.
Or maybe in one of the Remember Me's.
That could be also. But I'm pretty sure it's relatively recent. Listeners, obviously, you seem to have your fingers on the pulse more than we do sometimes. So let us know. Spence's mom won't visit because it's apparently her 40th birthday. I was a little uncertain what was going on in that exchange.
It is her 40th birthday, and she is going to be celebrating at a party with her church friends. And because he is not straight, he is not welcome at home with the church or with his mother. Fuck. So his dad's the only one who will come visit him.
I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's fucked up.
Okay, yeah, okay. I get it now.
Because Spence was like, I'll go.
Yeah, like we should go there, and his dad's like, that's not going to go. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I don't know why I didn't pick that up. Kevin's mom is obsessed with his legacy and making his younger brother, Kevin 2, who looks just like Kevin. Kevin's girlfriend, Catherine, is there. And then we get the little Ilonka mistaking girlfriend for sister.
Yes, I would like to read my notes to you guys.
Yes, please.
I put, Kevin and his siblings are so cute. LOL. Oh, that was Kevin's girlfriend, LMAO. I thought they were just like bonding as a family. So I was like,
oh my god.
So both Ilonka and Becca mistake the girlfriend for the sister. They did not
read the room at all.
Oh my! Because they were just talking about prom and stuff. And
yeah,
I thought she was just really excited to tell her big brother about prom.
And honestly, here
she seems younger. Like she looks and seems younger than the rest of them. Yeah.
So they talk about prom and French romanticism being the theme. Yeah, Christmas lights and the Eiffel Tower would be the way you do a prom theme for French romanticism, not making the gym look like the Louvre.
I mean, there's some nice lighting from the Louvre if you're outside and it's nighttime, maybe.
Well, outside the Louvre, sure, but I don't think that's what he meant.
No, then you're just inside a museum, so that's a little bit weird for a prom.
But, I mean, if you're doing French romanticism, you're doing... Well, it's too early to be doing Moulin Rouge, because I mean, unless
give me a little bit of French bread,
know about the Moulin Rouge,
a little croissant. I'm just here for the snack.
Did you say a little French bread and a little croissant?
Yes. What do you mean? Of course. We're going to France. What's more romantic than bread? Are you kidding?
I'm with you. I'm with you, Cassie. Truly.
Yum.
So Ilonka is immediately jealous here. And I get it. I don't feel like the show's earned it yet.
Is she jealous? Do you think she's jealous?
I think so. Off the bat.
Just like, this is awkward. Kind of like,
yeah, I think she was just like, why didn't he tell me? Like, I feel like she's just like, he did not tell me. I didn't know he had a girlfriend. So this is like really fucking weird now.
Right. Like,
it was, he did not tell me he had a girlfriend. So my crush on him is uncomfortable for me.
But it didn't seem like I don't think it's that deep of a crush to her.
Okay.
I feel like it's just like, oh, like I like this cute boy. Haha, we're both here at the hospice. We're gonna die. Haha. And then, oh shit, he's got a girlfriend. He didn't mention that. Well, haha, the guy I'm gonna die with is not gonna die with me. He's gonna die with that girl. Oh well. Like, I feel like she was just like, I think her watching it, and for me, if I were that person, I'd be like, dude, that was the most awkward I've ever been in my fucking life. I cannot believe I just did that. Like, that's what I would be focused on more than anything else. I wouldn't feel like. And then, like, they talk, right? Like, he comes in to talk to the room into her.
Yeah, and then looks at the picture she drew of him.
Which is not just him. It's all the other people, too.
True. We also have never seen her drawing.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So what the fuck is that? Just suddenly giving us a character trait that we've never seen.
They were really impressive, too. She should have been talking about that.
They were very nice drawing. So I would have loved to see, like, she's talking all this about art therapy and Julia Jane. I would have loved to see her absently doodling this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know? It's a moment that should be there, but isn't. Then Ilonka finds Discount Hopper chatting with Anya, who's being nice.
Which honestly, that was really sweet.
No, this was really nice. The moment where Tim is concerned about Ilonka, because let's face it, Ilonka's being concerning. But Anya stands up for her and says, "We take care of each other." I really like that. That's again, Ruth Codd continues to be the MVP of this series. I think she's just absolutely wonderful. Though Kevin is also very good. Igby Rigney with the best name ever.
Needs a Beatles song about him.
It feels like it. Igby Rigby wearing the face that he keeps in the jar by the door. Yes. Sari, who's also holed up in her room, gets a giant stuffed bear and a box of soap. Nick won several of the soaps. I thought that was very cute. Sari lies about her grandfather and the invention of soft soap, or doesn't lie. We don't know. But Nick doesn't believe a word she's saying.
Her little laugh at the end of that sentence was so cute, too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't believe a single word of it. She's just like smirky. Like, that was so cute.
I do find it interesting that she's telling stories and nobody believes her, but she's still telling stories. So are they true? Are we going to find out they're true? Is really that the twist? I don't know.
I am Team Cherie all the way.
I feel like also though, I think you're not mentioning the saddest parts, which are my favorite parts, or like the nice little parts, like that Anya's family was like not there so she's used to spending every family day alone. And when she was about to go back over to the stairs and leave, like Discount Hopper was like, okay, nice to meet you, bye. But like Ilonka was like, no, you're coming with us, right? Like she didn't even give her like a chance to like not be involved. Like that was so sweet. And then also when Cherie is talking about like her family is so like busy that they don't have time for their only daughter who's so sick that all they can do is send her soap that the mother's getting for free, like as a movie star. Like it's just so sad. And I think it's really nice that they have in addition to the interview with the vampire thing where he's comforting the other guy, like they have Mark here again, like with some lightness and some just like
being a moment of comfort.
Yeah, like he's comforting, but he's not even too serious about it, like which like makes it very light for her. And like he's allowed to like keep joking, like, oh, do I get to keep these soaps? Like I just thought it was really, really well done and like really well balanced.
Well, and see, I don't mention everything because that gives you the opportunity to do it.
That's true.
Isn't that great? Isn't that lovely? How I do that? No. So then we have Natsuki going to visit Tristan. but she's died.
I
do wish we'd had a little bit more with Tristan, so this hit a little bit harder.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I was like watching it like on my phone with my headphones in, and I was like sitting next to my mom, and like it happened. I was like, "Oh no!" I was so sad because she was ready to tell me more of that story.
Sure, I'm with you. I think it would have had more impact.
Yeah,
to the characters.
It hit me though. It did hit me.
It did. It made me sad too.
Like I told my mom the whole story right after that happened. I was like, okay, so this is what happened. This is why it's sad.
I like that the whole group sort of has a ritual where they come and watch them take her to the morgue. And then Natsuki hangs out and talks to Robert Longstreet, who is one of Flanagan's MVP actors. I love Robert Longstreet. And here he just plays janitor, according to the IMDb. He's weirdly excited about the pillows. Like, the doctor did something right here. It's weird. That's specifically what he says.
The way he said it, Cooper really gave me the scares, and I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It was spooky. I don't want to meet you in a dark alley talking about that ever again.
Wow, I guess I didn't have Longstreet's
doctor
warmth.
did something right here.
Okay.
I need help.
All right, that's fair. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know why that hit spooky, but it did.
Okay. So he talks about the ancient Egyptians and their pillows, which were wood cut. He does have a really nice bit about people fear death but not pain, but when you die, the pain is over, and that's a nice little moment. I feel like we're not going to get a lot of Robert Longstreet in this show, and that's disappointing to me because I like him a lot. Okay.
I'm sorry. I got on a weird little mental side tangent where I was like, I really like names that are just words put together, like long and
like Longstreet.
Yeah, but I wasn't gonna say that, or at least I wasn't planning on, just because it was so stupid.
And now you have.
Now I have. I was guilted into it.
So Kevin comes to Ilonka's room to apologize for the crazy comment. But Ilonka is desperate to apologize for the "I thought your girlfriend was your sister" madcap, zany confusion between them. And here's where we see that Ilonka has been drawing everybody. And
Supposedly.
It's weird. Supposedly. In all her free time.
She's just getting those mailed to her at the place. She's sending pictures to somebody out, an artist who's commissioning. She's basically Cherie with her lies, but just like one step above.
Yeah, it's like, no, I drew them. Totally.
No, that's my art. What do you mean you've never seen me hold a pencil? No, this is fine.
Getting them on Etsy.
The flea market.
Yeah, at the flea market. Kevin talks about how his family has mythologized the person named Kevin, who also got detention, a lot of detention apparently, because Kevin got a lot of detention.
That Kevin.
Yeah, that Kevin. Ooh, he's trouble. He's trouble. And here's where Ilonka shows Kevin the drawings, and where Kevin, after coming to apologize about the crazy comment and belittling Ilonka's search, again belittles Ilonka's search for information.
Lesson not learned.
And why does he care? I mean, I get it. Don't go chasing the cure. I get that. But it's okay. And Ilonka talks about how there's always been a voice inside her pushing her, telling her to do things, telling her to try things, and this voice has been loud about this specific thing. Kevin thankfully does not make a crazy comment about that. So next we get Natsuki walking by Tristan's room, and we don't get a jump scare sound here, but we do see out of focus in the background Tristan sitting up. Natsuki comes back, and she's not there.
Oh. Spooky.
Spooky indeed. So the Midnight Club then is voting whether for or against this being a proof or a sign of the afterlife, which is the Midnight Club's other purpose. And I realized after episode 1, we didn't talk about that. That was the Midnight Club's purpose and telling stories. But they all agreed that the first one to die, which is weird because many people have died, would make a ruckus in the afterlife, try to show them proof that there is an afterlife. So apparently when someone dies, if there is proof presented to the group, they vote for or against this being actual proof. And Anya votes in the most dickish possible way she could, of course, which is just no one agrees that this is proof.
Sandra talks about basically heaven and stuff like that. Right? That was Sandra, I assume. Okay, just making sure. And Anya responds with, "The world is such a colorful fucking place. Why do you go out of your way to make it so black and white?" And that's like her opinions on heaven and hell and like how this, I don't know. Anyway, basically my whole thing is that was such an important line to me. Like I thought that was really good. No,
that is, yeah. And so let's get into our story for this episode. Our story this time is...
No. We have to transition by saying, "Let's make a fucking ghost," because I really love that line.
No, you're right. Making
let's
ghost.
Let's in unison. Ready?
Yeah. Let's... How are we going to do that? Come on.
Why are we doing this together? I missed it.
You know how hard it is to say something in unison over a Zencaster here.
I've got tears.
It's next to impossible.
Let's make some fucking ghosts.
Let's make some fucking ghosts. Let's just do it. Let's make some fucking ghosts. Yeah, there we go.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So Kevin gets up and says, "Dusty was perfect. Perfectly fucking crazy. My story is the Wicked Heart."
So I think something that was good from this is because so far everything they've been talking, like their stories and stuff, obviously they're supposed to be like kind of like reflections of what's going on with them and who they are and how they feel about their sickness and dying and stuff. So I think it's interesting that so far all of them are talking about how like this character was perfect. They were the perfect person. And it's like, so you can tell that these kids feel like they were perfect. Like they were so much better before they got sick, and that the sickness is like their version, like in their heads, they're not anymore. They're imperfect now, which I think is it's sad, but also like.
Also, Kevin's story then, starting with Dusty was perfect, is a perfect jumping off point from his family mythologizing who he was before, too.
Yep.
Because this story, The Wicked Heart, is about someone who outwardly appears to have everything fine, but inwardly is a psychopath.
Right. Another comparable thing to his story is like when he's like, his mother's mind is starting to go, which is very comparable to the mom and her drinking.
Yes, for sure.
So that was definitely interesting to me.
Yeah.
Also, I have a question. So the subtitles told me his name was Dusty Shane.
It's Shane with an M, like Mike,
okay,
like,
I remember
like Michael Mouse.
I remember Dusty Shane from the book, and I was like, did they change his name? And I was gonna be really mad if they did.
No, subtitles are just bad.
Wrong. Yeah, they're really bad in this.
Yeah.
Because Dusty Shane is the only Dusty I know.
No, I had the same thought because Courtney Shane is from Jawbreaker, and I was like, Dusty Shane, Courtney Shane. Like, there's a difference in my brain. And so when they said it, like when I read the words on the thing, and I was like, no, that's not right. That's not right.
I was like, did they really think Dusty Shane was so tacky they had to change it to Shane? Because, no, like, keep it.
I mean, it is one of those names that's like, Pike?
Yeah, and Cooper, just for you, not even just for you, but just because it doesn't matter if you guys have read it, but just my book, Brutal Hearts, is because it's basically like an homage to like 90s and Pike books. There at the very end, there's like this very small minor thing. This isn't a spoiler. It's just a random character name. I used the name Dusty Sands because of this book. Because of Wicked Heart. It was literally like a little, and nobody has mentioned it or noticed it except me. But like, it's just for fucking me and this book, and I was like, I have to mention this. Like, I'm so excited about it.
No, I love that. I mean, I name characters after Twin Peaks people all the time.
It's so good.
That's my big thing. Okay, before we dive into Dusty's story. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the PikeCast. Wow, friends. Where else can you get this kind of programming than the PikeCast? Nowhere, that's where. But we're trying to keep the lights on here. If you like what you're hearing and want it to keep happening, jump over to our Patreon at thepikecast.com/Patreon and throw us a few bucks to join our private Discord server. Higher tiers get books, stickers, bookmarks, and even personalized shirts. That's thepikecast.com/Patreon.
Once, Osgood and Frost were the up-and-coming stars of the burgeoning paranormal investigation TV show craze before a hoax put an end to their friendship, partnership, and television careers. Now, over a decade later, Prudence Osgood is a barely functioning alcoholic ghost hunter for hire. Her yearning for mystery and adventure is reignited when she receives a cryptic, untraceable email. She can't resist embarking on an investigation that tugs threads, winding through a sinister series of disappearances, her former partner's family, and a night 20 years ago when a semi blew a yellow light and nearly killed her. Reviewers are calling Osgood Is Gone a masterfully vulnerable and relatable 21st century horror story, and a bourbon-soaked supernatural mystery with sparkling dialogue that sticks the landing on LGBT characters, and main character Prudence Osgood, as tortured as she is clever, broken in all the best ways, and a true heroine for our times. Buy it today at Osgood Is Gone as a paperback, ebook, or audiobook narrated by me, JJ Ronvier.
Welcome back to the PikeCast. We were just diving into Kevin's story, The Wicked Heart, about Dusty Shame. I forgot his last name is Shame. Fucking Christopher Pike. So here's the thing. We're getting a lot of stuff very quickly here with these stories. So we're getting a lot via narration. And that's okay. It's interesting as an adaptation to see what is a full book broken down this way, I think. So we learned that Nancy is home alone this weekend, and Dusty overhears that. He is hearing voices. And in the book, as we said, these voices, why do I think they were coming from a cricket, but also a Nazi?
It was a roach, and it was like in his brain. Remember in the book, he was seeing this creature and dreaming about it as like a giant roach. But spoiler for that book, at the end, you find out it's actually like the Nazi spirit that has possessed his mother. So He only hears it while his eyes are closed, and she's like chewing on his ear. Yes.
Okay.
Fucking
That's
weird.
What I thought.
Yeah.
And I feel like the show calls attention to the mother thing very quickly. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be a surprise.
No.
Because he asks her if he's done good, if this will quiet the voices in his head. He packs up his hammer and goes out, but letting us know he lives with his crazy mother, who's always listening, which is interesting because it doesn't feel relevant. Is Nancy being played by the actress who played his girlfriend?
I believe so. Yes, she is. Yes. Okay. Yes. Nancy. I don't know her name, but Catherine.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. I learned after the first episode, I'm not going to try to pronounce names.
That's fair. I don't have a good memory for names.
Her name looks like Amelia, but it's got a J in it. So I don't know.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty interesting.
But yes, so she's playing Nancy, and Ilonka plays the other character
Sheila.
in it, Sheila. Yes.
Yes.
So Dusty goes out, and this is a great sequence here, where he breaks into Nancy's house through a screen. She wakes up as he's standing over her. He puts a towel over her face and hits her with a hammer. And it's brutal. It's quick. It's matter of fact. And it's just a perfect moment of true crime horror, I think.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then the voices are quiet.
And I think it's different too, because it's like a very different kind of story than the other ones we've been told so far, and like the other kind of graphic stuff we've seen.
Well, the others have all been more supernatural in nature. So yeah, this feels very straightforward. Even though he's hearing voices, he may just be crazy. We don't know. And this is interesting too. So he takes two elements. I think, he had this conversation with Ilonka about hearing a voice driving her and about this hourglass. So I think he's added both of those into his story here. And it wasn't just the voices that he was developing for this story. But he bags her and leaves a calling card, which is a smiley face. But Amesh points out that he's already used a serial killer with a smiley face calling card. So he changes it to an hourglass. And Ilonka is upset because he's taken her thing. But she doesn't say anything at this point. He takes her to a cave and buries her. There seem to be only 2 other plots, despite the fact that he's clearly killed a whole bunch of people. But in here, he tells his mom to leave him alone. And really, that reveal in the book, where he realizes it's his mom in bed with him, whispering to him, it's so fucking creepy.
It is.
And if you have not read the Wicked Heart, clearly we're spoiling it because that's what we're doing here. But go read it, or at least go listen to our episode about it, because it's a pretty awesome book.
It is really good. One of my favorites still, that I loved when I was a teen and has still held up as being like really interesting and good.
Well, because it's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, I may have issues with how they use Nazis, but it's certainly fucked up in how they use Nazis in it. So, yeah. Dusty says goodnight to the silently watching dead. This is also very scary. The oldest now just stare at him, but the new ones are trying to scream, but he can't hear them. That's a really nice visual there.
And how he says some of them are just like crying.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
It's so spooky to see them too.
Yeah. And how especially Nancy just pops up randomly next to him. I love that. So we're back in class, and Dusty's lab partner, who's talking endlessly, is Sheila, played by Ilonka. I'm just going to say played by Ilonka because that's really what we're doing here. Who says that Sheila is thinking with her hoo-ha?
Sandra.
It's a nice moment where they point out that Sheila shouldn't fall for the perfect creepy guy, but she's thinking with her hoo-ha. I like that. They go out on what seems to be a date, but Sheila takes them to Nancy's house. And Dusty is just trying really hard to dissuade her from this. No, she's probably just out. Maybe she went to Las Vegas. I don't know. It's probably nothing. It's probably like really overdoing his hand here. Now, so apparently Dusty did her sheets, changed her sheets, and remade her bed. I didn't see him do that, but apparently he did that. I think that's
what he does. Yeah, he cleans up everything really, really thoroughly in the book, and then leaves the like card or something. I think. Right?
Wasn't there also blood on the pillow in the book?
I think they find like a couple of really small drops of blood. Okay. Maybe that's how they know that there's foul play, or maybe that because he does murder more than one person in the book,
right?
Like that we follow. So it's kind of hard to say what order it happens.
And then they call the police, where Heather Langenkamp comes in with a weird New England accent.
I love her. She's so funny.
It's just strange.
It is, but it's so funny. It's like they have to give her different things because she's like so many different characters and people in it. It's just like, where did this come from? Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
It was like, well, that was a choice.
I had fun with it.
But and she's fun in this. It's just it threw me. The accent threw me. Dusty, meanwhile, is seeing Nancy all over the place, screaming and crying, and but we can't hear her. And well, the cop, I don't remember if we know the cop's name, but the cop sends Dusty home and asks Sheila if she's ever used AOL, Prodigy, or Einstein. And then we see that Dusty is using this chat service, Einstein. Here's another nitpick from a filmmaking perspective. First of all, we know that the image on a computer does not mirror itself on the face of the user. We know that, but that's a trope. That I'm not concerned about that. My concern.
I liked that image, and I was like, Cooper. I was gonna say, do you hate everything that I like?
Hold on.
What are you?
Let me tell you why.
What you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, so the image of Dusty using the computer, we see the text on his face.
Oh,
right?
Like it's reflecting back, like the light.
Like it's reflected. And they use that in a lot of movies, and I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that it's not mirrored. The text is the same as it is on the computer.
I never thought about that when I've watched that in a movie. Holy shit, that wouldn't happen. It would just be light.
No. So
my God.
The text, whenever you see it in a movie, it's mirrored because it's meant to be what is seen on the screen.
My mind is blown. I'm like, I can just walk up to somebody and sit in front of them and read what they're saying on their computer. No, you can't, dumbass. That's not how that works.
That's not how it works.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
So I have a problem with that, but that's all.
Fair.
I like the reflect. I like that trope of the reflected, and it's a nice way to show text on a screen, because text on a screen ultimately is dull and boring. I get it, totally, but there. So Sheila comes over to Dusty's, and in typical Pike fashion, she's decided to investigate this on her own because for some reason she doesn't believe. Maybe it's the accent. Maybe she doesn't believe a woman with a made-up accent can solve this this crime. But
I think she thinks there's more info to it that she's not being told, and she's concerned about her friend. So she knows there's something like kind of being kept from her, and she's like, well, if you're not going to like loop me in, fine. I'm going to go do it myself.
Which is very Pike.
Yeah, it really is.
Like almost any murder ever in Pike has to be investigated by a teenager.
Which also, though, weirdly, I will say that in most of his books, the cop is so willing to work with a 16-year-old on the investigation. So I'm glad they didn't at least make it like super easy in this, because that would have taken me out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's a great moment here where we're back in the library, and Kevin says "to," and they say "don't." "To be, don't do it." Continued. And if you want to hear the rest, stay alive a little while longer. And this was what I was wondering about. How are they going to do longer stories in, an hour-long episode? And this is how. To be continued. Okay. I wish they devoted a little more time to the story, because, this is one of the reasons I'm here. I want to see these stories adapted, right? But it feels, I'm not judging it totally. I'm just judging it a little here. So Kevin is cleaning up, putting the candles out. Apparently the storyteller has to do that. And Ilonka says, listening to you talk about hell and descent reminded me of something. Now, am I just crazy, or did he never talk about hell or descent?
Wait, I'm confused.
Did anything in Kevin's story refer to hell or descending?
Descending where?
That's what I'm asking. Because Ilonka says, listening to you talk about hell and descent reminded me.
Maybe
but Kevin doesn't talk about hell or descent.
Maybe because he's doing evil things?
I guess.
Yeah, that's the vibe I would be getting from it.
Yeah, because I think I just took that more like, not literally. Like, I guess you're on a downward spiral because you're murdering people and like about to get caught.
Yeah. That's the descent. Is like the descent.
I know. I get the implication, But clearly she heard something different than we did. That's the weird thing.
Or they just cut something and then...
Or they cut something.
Yeah.
Like her drawings. So...
Maybe Ilonka really just wanted to use that line, so she was like, transition into what I have to say.
The whole time she's listening to the story, she's like, what can I say to make me sound smart when he's
Here's a segue, yes.
She just planted it.
Hell and Descent.
Hell and Descent, yeah.
And Kevin's like, I didn't say anything about that.
It reminded her of the elevator. Now, here's my biggest problem with the episode. I own a 3D printer. I know what 3D printed things look like. And that button and that panel are 3D printed and spray painted gold.
I have to go look it up.
Because I even took a picture of it. You can see the printer lines in it. It does not look like metal. And it perplexes me that a show on Netflix with money wouldn't have something like a hero version of this for the close-up and have the crappy version for the wide shot. It is so bizarre to me that they would do that.
Maybe they were just like, we're putting 9 books into 10 episodes, so we're going to say fuck it with the button budget and just put all our efforts into everything else. Because there's nobody who's going to point to this entire show encompassing 10 million books in one small show and think they should have done better with that fucking button. And then here comes Cooper. And Cooper's like, Cooper. Fucking yes, you should have done better because I have a 3D printer and I know what that is.
Or you know what? Don't film it so close. I mean, that's the solution. Maybe take a step back.
Just zoom out a little bit. You're too close. It's like from Aladdin. He's like, come closer. He's too close, a little too close.
Yeah.
I will say, I personally
excellent Aladdin reference there.
Thank you. I will say, I didn't notice the 3D printed. That didn't stand out to me. I did think like the button, the way that it was in there, I was like, that clearly looks like a button. How did nobody know that was a button?
Exactly.
Like, that's a fucking button. I would go into that elevator, look and be like, what floor am I go? Oh, look, a weird button down here. That's strange. Like
specifically Kevin, who seems to wander around this place looking at everything. Like, this is not subtle at all.
He's like, I study these pictures on the walls, but I've never looked at the elevator.
Never looked at the button in the elevator. The clear button. So she presses it. It does nothing. So she goes to the basement, which is the morgue, which is an intense little moment, for people who are dying, seeing the morgue. I get it. Yeah. Then presses the basement button and the hourglass button. And they go to the basement, which is clearly a religious area. It's got a marble floor with that hourglass image on it. There's statues. Kevin doesn't get out of the elevator, so he's taken back up. And Ilonka is down in the dark alone. And then the old woman. Also in the dark with Ilonka. So. And credits. All right. That's our episode. Let's talk about, was there any sexuality in this episode? Besides hoo-ha?
I don't remember any.
There was a lot of murder. I feel like it was decidedly unsexy.
Yeah. Very straightforward murder. Yeah.
Sheila really thought she had her little flirt going on with Dusty for a bit.
Yeah. Very true. That. And Sheila, as Ilonka does, way over talks when given the opportunity.
I can't relate to that at all.
No, and I understand what it is. It's filling the silence. It's talking until the other person decides to talk. It's like, okay, if I stop, there will be awkward silence, as happens on this podcast occasionally when I stop. So I just fill the gap.
It's comfort in silence. I get to sit in comfort with my friends.
Go for it with friends. Rich does it to me all the time. He's like, sometimes, like, I'll just keep going. He's like, I just want to see how far you're gonna go if I don't say anything. He's like, sometimes I just wait to see, and I'll just go on and on and on, and I'm like, and then I'll just stop and be like, did you hear me? He's like, yeah, I heard everything he said. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I get it. It's a thing. I just don't like Ilonka. That's a thing. That's all. I just don't like her. Eventually, maybe she'll be cooler. I mean, it's cool that she draws pictures, apparently.
Allegedly.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. Well, let's talk about favorite moments. Y'all have some favorite moments from the episode.
I liked Ilonka including Anya and her family day.
Yeah, that was very nice. Very nice.
And then I liked the Wicked Heart. I just think it's especially with the faces that are screaming that you can't hear, that are just he's always seeing. Like, that's so freaky to me.
Very creepy.
I was really excited to see like how closely I mean, there are obviously differences. Like, there's huge differences, but it is pretty closely following it, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. How about you, Becca?
So I'm gonna go with the Wicked Heart as well. Like, that was pretty much the highlight of the episode.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to specifically say that Dusty's kill is perfectly shot and perfectly put together, and it really, really sells that. Okay, so this is a show about teenagers, and this is a show for teenagers, but here's a brutal murder for you, and it's not romanticized, it's not hidden, you're going to watch me hit someone with a hammer in the face. And I give the show props for that. And my worst moment, you can probably guess.
Was it the elevator?
It's a 3D printed elevator button. Because fuck that. Fuck it. You know, if I made a movie for no money, I would be embarrassed to have a close-up of a 3D printed thing that's supposed to be metal. Embarrassed. How about you two? Did you have any worse moments?
I wish that the ghost Tristan thing sitting up in bed, like I wish that situation had been a little bit like longer or more creepier, because it feels like it was just like a very small.
It was very brief, yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like just a reason for them to be able to congregate and be like, no, these are the parameters with which we will accept dead contact. Like, these are the rules. Like, so I see why it's necessary, but I feel like it's just extra. Like, it could have been more, I think, to me. So I liked it, but I wanted more from it. And it just, since I didn't get that, I was just like, what's the point?
And it that reinforces too, the Tristan story is very slight. And we could have done the thing where at the beginning of the episode, we have Natsuki reading more to Tristan and actually have them have a conversation. And then when she dies, it would be more meaningful. But we spend other time with other things, and it just feels a little less than, I think. Okay, any other thoughts before we move into last act?
No thoughts, brain empty.
No thoughts.
Okay. Well, let's talk about where episode 3, The Wicked Heart, falls on our rating system out of 5 pikes. Becca, I've made you go first the past 2 times, so I'm not going to do that again.
Okay.
Cassie, what are you thinking?
I think I'm going to do... Okay, I think I'm going to do 3.5 pikes with a 3D printed elevator button on the other half.
So does that count as a quarter? Because it can't possibly be a full half. No, it counts as a half.
It's 4 total.
Okay, 4 total.
Yes, I think I do like that there's, again, my main complaint, which isn't really a complaint, it's just an observation that there is a lot of backstory and setup. I do like that we get a little bit more per character. Like, we get Natsuki's like father and mother, like how her father died, and like the picture. We get a bit about Amesh's family and how they were deported, and how like that's his struggle and his concern. They're trying to get his family back so he can see them before he dies. There's a lot of like we get a lot of good content in the Wicked Heart, but we also get content for the people in the hospice, which I do think there was a decent balance there.
And it was very efficiently put together. That
yeah,
moment, we learned a lot in a very short period of time.
Yes. And it's not, I think the family day, just as a whole, is a really interesting, good concept, because they could have chosen not to give these people fleshed out backgrounds like they do in some of the actual Pike books. But they give them a little bit more, even the side characters that are brand new to the show. So I do like that a lot.
Definitely. Okay, so you're ultimately works out to 4 then with your 3D printed button.
I feel like, though, because I didn't dislike this one more than I disliked than the other one, so maybe I should do 4 and then a 3D button to 4.5. 4.5.
Okay.
I think fair. So.
Becca, what are you thinking?
I am giving it. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Please.
No.
This is safe space.
No, I'm gonna actually lie. You guys 5 stars. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm not gonna say this is a bad episode, because it definitely is not. But compared to the other 2, I do feel like, okay, I did like Family Day. I did like learning more about the characters. However, I do feel like it was pretty slow until we get to the second half of the episode when it comes to like action and spooky. Which is clearly what I love spooky. So I'm giving it a simple 3.5 pikes.
Wow, okay.
I know. I mean, it's still a good episode, don't get me wrong. Like, I still vibed with it. I just feel like it was a little bit slower than the other ones to me.
Well, so I'm not going to be the lowest this time, which is nice.
Nice. I'm glad I could help.
The last 2 episodes, I've been the lowest. I'm going to just stick with 4. As with episode 2, I felt like this was on par with episode 2. I'm still questioning a lot of the decisions the creators are making, because I am coming to it from that point of view as well. But I really enjoyed the Wicked Heart stuff, and I'm going to give it 4 hammers.
Nice.
Instead of pikes.
Hammers. I'm so glad, because I was like, I'm over here with my origami cranes and my fucking buttons. Nobody else is doing it. I'm so extra.
It's going to be 4 bloody hammers.
This past week has made me exhausted, Cassie, so I'm not like creative today.
No, it's okay.
You're perfect.
Thank you.
I'm just extra.
I just gotta stick with pikes for a little bit.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
I'll come up with something.
Well, then that wraps us up for episode 3 of the Midnight Club.
Nice.
And Becca, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find more of you online?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at ReadWithBex, where I talk about books. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter as @ToldByBex, and I just started on Etsy with my sister, where we sell book sleeves and other things, but mostly book sleeves, and that's at Leaping Lily Creations. Nice.
Cassie, how about you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ControlAltCassie. That's CTRLALTCassie. You can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/letsgetgalactic. I'll show you behind the scenes artwork and other things. You also get stickers and art prints depending on your tier. And you can also check out my Etsy shop where I sell books and more. It is shopletsgetgalactic.com.
And you can find me at coopersbeckett.com and on all the social medias at Cooper S. Beckett. Cassie, where can they find our show?
You can follow us on all social media at the PikeCast. We would really like it if you'd show us your Christopher Pike books or tell us your thoughts on the show by using the hashtag #ShowUsYourPike. And you can also subscribe to our Patreon and get access to our Patreon-only Discord and get some cool little merch like bookmarks and stickers. You'll also get early access to our episodes, and that is patreon.com/thepikecast.
And we really, 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 really appreciate our patrons. And
we do.
They have some great discussions on there, and they've been really active since the show came out. And it's very cool. So please do join us, because that's what allows us to take the time and continue to make this show for you.
Yes, and it's also it's more like a friendship too, like of a lot of people, because we talk about other movies, we talk about other books. It's not always just Pike, but the Discord is very Pike focused. So if that's your thing, come hang out with us.
Yeah, there is a lot of horror books and movies discussion beyond Pike, definitely. All right, listeners, your homework for next week is watch episode 4 of The Midnight Club, and we will talk to you about that then. Until then, Pikers, pleasant dreams.
Ooh.
survived the night, friends. You can peek out from under your covers and see the first blues of dawn out the window. Thanks for spending the night with the PikeCast, and we hope you'll join us again next time. Until then, Pikers, pleasant dreams. And we're moving on. When I leave gaps, that's where you can throw in things I've missed, by the way.
Well, I didn't know, are you continuing with this conversation? Because I do have something to add in, but I don't know if it's time.
Well, I was going to go to the story, but if there's more...
Okay, then I'll go ahead then.
Okay.
We're so polite.
Now, please interrupt me so I'm not just telling the story of the show.
I didn't want to bring up a part if you were going to bring it up because I don't know. Anyway.
Sometimes I get so involved too because your voice, you're telling it like a narrator and I'm just like, oh man, what happens next? That's what happens is you miss a point. Like you don't focus on a point that I remember specifically. I'm like, wait a minute, you missed this.
Yeah, please do that, okay?
Well, to continue off of I didn't want you to forget it.
The colors. This fucking sugar, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are full of energy. Yes.
I really need you to pass that on.
I know. I'll try. I'm just gonna mentally. I have this strain going from my brain.
Send us some sugar.
Yes. Well, I mean, you could probably just faster to go to McDonald's and get a coffee, and then just ask for 5 cream and 10 sugars.
I mean, even faster. I could go into the kitchen and just pour 10 ounces of sugar down my throat.
That's
true. But it doesn't taste as good without that nice bitter coffee flavor. Oh, can I say something? I raised my hand in real life. You didn't see it, but my hand was
Don't raise your hand. Just say it.
I didn't mean to. I didn't realize until I looked and I was like, bitch, what are you doing? Get your hand
you literally raised your hand. Wow.
I swear to God on my life.
I don't want to be seen as the teacher on this show here. I want you both to feel as important as me.
No, fair. Okay.
Cassie, how about you?
Why do I have to clear my throat every time?
Don't worry, I cut it out, so you don't have to worry about it.
It's so awkward. Okay. For some reason, I was like, my name is Cat. I'm so stupid. God, my brain. Get on this. Okay. You can find me on all social media. Well, okay. You can... Let me just get it out of my system. Hang on. Blah, 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 blah.
Giggle a little bit. Yeah.
Like Ryan and Sharpay from high school. Never mind. Yes. Anyways. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay.